Good evening and welcome. Gold medal. I got a gold medal on tonight. Yeah, I'll tell you what I've won later. Anyway, I'll take it off. I don't want to show off, do I? I don't want to show off. I mean, I don't want to come on here showing you what I've won, what I haven't won. I just want to do some dog training chat. Number one, look, I won't tell you what I've won. I'll just take it. No. Go on then. I'll tell you. Take photos. Say congratulations, Chris. Say congratulations. Oh yeah, look at that gold medal. Gold medal. Number one. Hey, bling. Bling. It's all about bling, dog training, isn't it? Bling. Nice medal. Thank you, Jay Bird. Nice, eh? Who wants to win this today? Number one. Gold medal. Hey? Anyway, let's move on, shall we? We don't want to be boasting, do we? Somebody chopped my freaking head off. Oh, back up here then, haven't you, Chris? There you go. That was just so you can see me medal. So you can see me medal. Anyway, cool, we got some things to cover. We got some bloody stuff to talk about, honestly. Anyway, without ado, good evening to you. Honestly, he's a poet and he doesn't know it. Or he's a poet and he knows it. I don't know. Frank Casey, good evening, Chris. Oh, no, that's the wrong way around it. Tracy Dodds, why aren't you at the top, Tracy? Why are you not in here earlier? Abigail French, Gary Marriott, Graham Allison, Jordan Copsey, Jeffrey Harroway, good evening to you. Christopher, good evening to you. Jay Bird, Dog Training, good evening to you. Kevin Polhill, good evening to you. Tim Weston, Karen Evans, what are you doing here? Oh, he's a moderator. He just wants to throw somebody out. So if anybody's rude to me, just sort them out, Karen. Don't let them talk to me like it. You know what it's like? This woke society, we can't take it. Tim Weston. I used to like it when you used to be able to put thumbs down on a video on Facebook. You can't do it now. It's horrible, isn't it? You can't put a thumbs down when you don't like something. Michael McLaughlin, good evening to you. Noel Murray, good evening to you. Tim Weston, I think we said good evening to you. Claire Taylor, good evening to you. Sue, good evening to you. What the freaking hell are you in here for? Yeah, she's in the house. Oh, God, I'm going to have to behave myself tonight, aren't I? Nigel Moore, good evening. Frank Casey, Tracy Dodds, I'm sure I've seen that before. Tracy Dodds, good evening to you all. Good evening. Peter Piper, Victor Pepper. Oh, not again, Chris, shut up. Karen Evans, good. Oh, for frig's sake, you started already, Sue. Love Arts and good evening, Sue, already. He's such a gentleman, isn't he, that man? Hey, you had me watching a video today, Karen, about you sitting there coughing, I think, listening to wind outside your house. And I thought, I've just wasted 2 minutes of my life. Okay, Steve Pater's in the house. Good evening, Steve. Hope you had a nice holiday. Jonathan Wakefield's in the house. Good evening to you. Jay Bird training. My Brooklyn goes out for a ball really hot and brings it back with enthusiasm on birds. She goes out hot but comes back lax. What's the deal with that? Do you know what? I don't know. Perhaps she doesn't want to give it you. Perhaps she'd rather, in psychology, she's thinking inside her head, going, I don't really want to give this to him. I like this better than the ball. I don't know. I honestly don't know. You'd have to break it down with one of these positive only trainers. They may be able to give you a better insight. Good evening, Chris and Sue, says Denver Skinner. Evening all as well. He must be a policeman. Evening all. It was Ailey coughing. I was enjoying the piece of noise. That's it, the noise of the wind. That was it, yeah. Good. Be a lightweight of the...
Be the weight of the bird.
Look at that. If he'd only put a freaking gap in between the and weight, and I would have freaking read that out. I'm going Twilight. Because I'm dyslexic. But he noticed it because he put weight at the bottom. And then he wrote it proper. Proper weight. So hello, Simon Spruce. How are you? And not the tables Carlos is in the house as well. So we got 29 people in the house. What the freaking hell do you lot keep coming in for? Anyway, I'm going to go on to my first question. I've just put up 2 videos of Jordan. Jordan came here. Jordan Copsey? Question, dunno if you wanted to discuss, here we go, on live feed, does different quarry scent make your young dog behave different? I've had ivy on some rabbit ground. I walked the ground first to push the rabbits. push the rabbit. So I knew where she would take the lines, but she turned out. Hang on. There's more to this, and me frigging it's not opening. Hang on. I turned much. I walked to the ground to push out to push the rabbit, so I knew where she'd take the lines, but turned out much sharper on the whistle than she did on the pheasant lines when I was with you, and it got me thinking. She still pulled on the line and took a bit too much ground, but nothing like the pheasant scent with you when was with you. The ground is shortish grass, an area of white grass and bramble. So it was a great question. Care, there ain't bloody many. What?
Well, there's a good man, lucky man with rabbits to push off.
Well, that was. Do you know what? I'm going to sit here and shut up and just listen to you lot because you lot are helping each other before we've even opened my gob. Honestly, you're answering questions before I've opened my gob. I can tell you this. I can tell you this live on television. Do you know about all these film stars you've got to suck up to in the dog training world? If you want to become one of them, you have to suck up to them. Well, no, don't let's go there. Don't let's go there. But let's go in this direction. Let's name drop, shall we? I was at a trial, and Ian Openshaw said to me, I don't know if anyone knows Ian Openshaw. He's not a bad dog trainer. Well, he's one of the most successful. Well, he is the most successful, isn't he? He said to me out the blue, I didn't even freaking ask him. I wasn't even asking him questions. I could understand if I was asking him questions. He said, "Hey, Upton," and Ian's got a sense of humour. Ian has got a sense of humour. He will have a joke and a crack, and he'll take the piss. So you're not sure whether he's going to be taking the piss or whether he's going to be talking seriously to you. He said, "Hey, Upton," and I says, "Yes, Ian." He said, "I don't know why you can train on pheasants." I says, "Ian." I went back at him at the same in that same tone of voice. I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with Ian. "Hey, Ian, it's because we ain't got no fucking rabbits." Right? So there you go. We haven't got no rabbits. And I wasn't joking. I was serious. But he said, "I don't know why you train on pheasants." And I said, "Because we ain't got no rabbits." That's why I used to have to go all the way to Yorkshire and all the way to Scotland to train on rabbits. There's nothing finer than training on rabbits if you're going to be shooting rabbits on a regular basis over your dogs. Nothing better. It's far better than pheasants. But there was a trial the other day up in Scotland, and they couldn't get the entries for it. They didn't have enough entries. And they said the trial is on birds, not rabbits. Some of them trial people in Scotland won't want to run in a trial with birds compared to a rabbit dog doing its job where it's been taught to do its job. And I say horses for courses. So we've got our friends from across the pond who have to train a certain way for a certain reason. And that's exactly the same scenario as why I train the way I train. But that doesn't mean you can't train a dog to a good standard if you follow my method of training. But what I need to do is I need to teach a dog that what a line means, what scent means, but not to take the line until told. Now, I want the dog to produce game at the end of that on that flush, but I don't want the dog running after birds into the distance. Now, you could say, well, if you don't put them on birds and you don't put them in that position, they won't learn that game runs ahead more with birds than rabbits. Rabbits will have a tendency to sit tight and then bolt. Birds do sit tight, don't get me wrong, they will sit tight, but not very often in the open. They will run in the open. So when I take a dog out and I start to school it, whether it's a young dog or more experienced dog, I want to give it as much different ground conditions as possible, because the ground conditions make so much difference of how your dog's going to hunt. But it was a good question from Jordan, because he's saying the dog hunted tighter on the rabbits. I expect it to hunt tighter on the rabbits, and especially if there's a bit of cover, it will put its head down and want to learn to hunt with its nose to the floor. And like I keep saying to you, if you get a dog to put its nose down and hunt, you're not going to have that dog pulling in the same way if you condition it. But we have to condition it. We have to let the dog go wrong to put it right. So I believe in throwing the dog in every situation. But to begin with, I didn't want to take Jordan's dog into a wood where I can't predict whether there's going to be 50 birds in there, no birds, or one bird. So what I can do, if I've got the dog staying in front of us and conditioning that dog to stay in front of us, letting the dog go wrong and educating the dog, we can teach the dog there's a certain area, distance, that you can go and have fun. Go any further, and I'm going to persuade you to come back. And majority of that persuasion to begin with is gameplay and verbal cue. But there will become a point where the dog says, if I'm flushing a long way out, then why do I need to be with you? And we're saying to the dog, you need to be with us no matter what the situation is. All dogs will open up and wider. No problem at all. In America, you would take a dog that they watch in England that we're keeping tight and think that's useless. We want the dog to open up and take the line and produce the bird. And you give it credit. So what you're not doing, you're not destroying the dog. You're teaching the dog that you want the contact flush, but you want the contact flush reasonably close in. And the dog, if it's not getting too much fun too far away from you, you will end up with a far better dog, all-round dog that can cope with everything. Now, when I went to Scotland, I gave the dog the experience on the rabbits. It's so much easier training on rabbits if that's what you've got. Some of the top boys have got some brilliant ground, some brilliant keepers that allow them to go in the best estates in the country, up country, for rabbits. And the keepers want a lot of the rabbits shot because of the feed they're eating, the destruction they do, the land management, as we say. And so they're the lucky ones. And when you see the boys shooting on rabbits on a regular basis, if you trial on rabbits, that's the best thing you can do. But if you train on rabbits and then come down and shoot in woodland where birds get up in front and guns shoot them, those dogs struggle. And I've known people buy dogs from Scotland that are champions, bring them down to sunny Cornwall, expect them to go in very thick cover, hunt for themselves and use their brain, and all of a sudden they look frigging useless. And I've seen dogs that have done well down here and go up Scotland and do absolutely no good at all on the rabbits in the sort of grounds that they are hunting those rabbits. It's most likely that most bumpkins have hard mouth and are tempted to eat the bird. I think the temptation is still, despite consistent training. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good point. I think I'm fighting. I think I'm fighting breeding. What? What's he say, Sue?
I think I'm fighting breeding.
You're fighting. You're fighting genetics. Yeah, genetics. Yeah. What's Karen got? Rose-tinted glasses? What?
No, it's a gene.
Oh, jeans. I thought it was a pair of freaking glasses from a freaking drug den. Genetics. There you go. Could well be the dog knows the game continues when the ball when it's a ball. It also knows game is over. Is over the retrieve of the bird. See, they're all giving you information here. See, they're all giving you information. I keep saying, stick the videos up and show us. I'll give you far more information if I watch the dog. Sounds like a freaking smoker's paradise, doesn't it? In the background, her barking her head off. Honestly, just people try and put me off all the time. That cough, she needs it looked at, doesn't she? She needs a stiff whiskey, doesn't she? So anyway, that was that. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? So who saw the e-collar videos with our friend from up country, our friend from up near Derby? Well, he's been up on Dales or up on Peak District, wherever it is. That's where he's been. Straight after having a lesson with me, and dogs raced after a sheep. Oh my bloody God! Raced after a sheep. Ask the question, why didn't it race after a sheep with me? Now, if that dog had raced after a sheep with me, I would have given that dog a sharp lesson. and the dog would have realized I stay away from sheep because it's a negative. And I would have put it up on video for everybody to see. But I can only condition the dog to the point the dog needs conditioning. But you've got that argument, don't you, out there in the dog training world about e-collar training, that you should condition the dog. No, you shouldn't condition the dog. You should just fry the dog. You should frighten the dog senseless when it goes near sheep. At the end of the day, I can only judge and react with a dog when I look at the dog and assess the dog in the environment that it can go wrong. Now, if you're training a dog and it's a sensitive dog and you're not putting any pressure on that dog to stop an unwanted behavior, and the dog gets into the fun of the chase on a number of occasions, I don't mean it wants to eat it. It likes the chase of the movement. Let's not say it's a killer. It just likes to chase the movement. It's not listening to the owner. I have to give you what I think you need to work on. And I said to the owner, now everybody in the groups watch those videos, and you can assess what you want to assess, but I'm not the sort of person to say that's cracked it. We solved the problem. I explained to him, if your dog won't come when told straight away, how do you expect it to come when told straight away when it starts chasing a sheep? So I put the dog in the situation to chase the sheep. If the dog had chased the sheep, I would have addressed the issue completely different, and I would have put it up for everybody to see. And I got to say that at the point I needed to up the ante and use a pain to stop that dog chasing the sheep once and for good, I would have used it. No problem at all. No problem at all. Nice fellow, but he said himself that he wanted walking companion and was letting him get away far too much from the dog, and the dog took the piss. Now, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's not been funny about it. He said, I'm going to get myself an e-collar. This is the whole point of what I said in the video to everybody in the group. Do you think he needs an e-collar? No one answered. No one answered. Perhaps you didn't see it. Perhaps it's in my mind and I didn't put it up. But I gave you the evidence. I let you watch the videos. I let you see that the dog had no desire at all to chase the sheep, but I'd already conditioned the dog with the e-collar. And when I say already, on the video that you saw, that was the only time we used the e-collar on the dog. I hadn't conditioned the dog before off camera. I gave you everything on camera as it was to educate. And it's not all about a big stick and give the dog, I've got to be so careful, don't I? Because if I said give the dog a thrashing with a big stick, people would say he takes a big stick and he thrashes the dog. No, it's a saying, isn't it? You don't want to, wave a big stick even, do you? If you don't need to wave a big stick. You don't want to make a threat if you don't need to make a threat. So if you can condition the dog not to chase the sheep, and what I did is I taught him how to get the dog to stay close to him, not allow the dog to get too far out, then you're not going to have a problem. But as soon as the dog went back to his old environment where he'd done that chasing and he never had a collar on, the trainer has got to understand you've got to stick to the training. And if he'd not gone on the hill with the sheep and worked on, when I say come here, under normal situation, you come here, then he wouldn't have had the problem he had when he went back on the hill and the dog chased the sheep. But what it's done, it's motivated him to say, right, I'm going out and I'm buying an e-collar. Now, that's the whole point, isn't it? What we were saying about why does Jeff's dog, and Jeff's on here, why does Jeff's dog put the e-collar on the dog sometimes when we want the dog working around sheep? It's not that Jeff's dog's chasing sheep, but what if Jeff's dog did chase sheep? And then the fun element kicked in. And Jeff hasn't got that problem because Jeff's dog understands that he's working for Jeff. He wants to play the ball game. You've tapped into the ball game. Now, the dog that I'm talking about loved the ball game. It was trying to own the show. But isn't it so important to show people like Jeff and everybody else in the group how different the dogs are and how some can take a little tiny bit of discipline and not sulk. Others will close down on you if you put too much discipline on them. So there's a fine line. And yet you can't have a dog doing what that dog's doing, biting the mother-in-law. Now, we made a joke of it, didn't we? We made a joke of it. Biting the mother-in-law. It's better than biting your mother, isn't it? If it's biting the mother-in-law. Oh, we're going to get some frigging letters now, aren't we, from sensitive people? My mother-in-law said, I'm never supposed to watch you again. Remember them mother-in-law jokes? You used to be able to have mother-in-law jokes, didn't you? And I think Steve's right with what he said. Sorry, I'm trying to read 3 different things here, trying to see if the conversation is still going, and I'm back to another conversation. So what I'm saying is those videos are really important. Now, there's another dog trainer who just lives up the road from me who uses the same moor for training dogs not to chase sheep with an e-collar. I've actually gone looking, not going to mention anybody's name. I've gone looking to see if he shows you how he conditions a dog when it chases. And exactly what he says, I agree, where he says it's not about what level. We don't talk about what level. Now, we have in the group, haven't we? We have in the group because what we wanted to do is show how sensitive the dog is compared to Jeff's dog. I actually wanted to help Jeff understand that with a more biddable dog, Jeff wouldn't be having the problems he's got. And everybody in the group, I think, have been very supportive towards Jeff and other members who struggle with an headstrong dog. And it comes down to the genetics of the dog sometimes, as well as the person. And sometimes it's more drifted towards the person who's causing the problem because they're not putting in the basics. They're not putting in the foundation. Well, I can't say that against Jeff because Jeff has put in the basics, the foundation. He's worked hard with that bloody dog. And it must be so disappointing when things go tits up. It's as simple as that. But at the end of the day, you have to soldier on. Because what are you going to do if you don't? What are you going to do if you don't? So the one thing that I try to use is sense of humor. But sometimes sense of humor backfires, doesn't it? If people don't find it funny and they're not in the mood. And I don't blame them because I've been in that same situation myself where the dog's gone freaking tits up and I've laughed at the situation and someone's got really shitty with me and gone, why were you laughing at me? Because I thought it was freaking hilarious watching the dog bounce, not listen to you. When you turned your back and you weren't watching the dog was taking the piss. The judge didn't see it. You didn't see it, but everybody in the gallery saw it. But he freaking come over to me giving me shit because some freaking Wally next to me said Chris Upton was laughing when your dog ran in. Fuck off. Get a backbone. Don't be a big fucking baby. I was laughing because it was bouncing through the cover and the judge didn't see it and the handler didn't see it. That's crap, isn't it? Right? And it was just funny. The dog was getting away with it. They weren't seeing it. Or did they not want to see it? Did they turn away? I don't know. I'm not the judge and I'm not the handler. But because I laughed, I didn't laugh out loud and start clapping. I laughed and the freaking grassing bastard next to me turned it round and said to the person, he was laughing at you because your dog went wrong. No, I wasn't. My sense of humor sometimes gets me in freaking trouble. Sue gets Sue into trouble on a regular basis with me because if I fall over and my leg fell off or I broke my arm or smashed my nose in, I was bleeding like fuck, she'd be laughing. And do you know why she laughs? Because she's nervous. So she laughed for a different reason. I wouldn't laugh if she fell over. I'd be running to her aid and going, come on, sweetheart, you're all right, you're all right. Because I'm a caring person. But there has been points where she's freaking walked into a door and I've gone, didn't you see the door was closed? No, I didn't. I didn't have my glasses on. And I think, Jesus Christ, imagine going through life like that. Turning a blind eye. What? When Sue walked into a door? No, she hadn't got glasses on. She just come out. The best bit is when she's come out the shower and I've closed the office door, and the office door here is a glass door. And I closed the glass door. She's so used to just walking through the gap. I closed the glass door and she cleans it so well. Sometimes I pray that she walks into it with a towel on so the towel drops off and I can see her naked in the daytime. Because half the time in the bed, I just have to use my imagination because we do everything with the lights off. Is that what you call your bedroom? The office? Step into my office. Step into my office. Honestly, but the sense of humor sometimes can be great because it can diffuse the situation with somebody. And let's be honest, I put a little video up with Jeff about Jeff's dog today where he don't play up like he did the other day, but he was improving so much, and yet all dogs have off days. And I thought it was so funny but I know why. I know why. And that was, we're talking about this new whistle and the old whistle. Well, Jeff's got the old whistle, and if you blow it the same as each other, the dog doesn't know who's blown it, does he? But everybody blows the whistles different. But when I blew the new whistle, the dog knew that's a different sound. That's coming from Fat Boy. That's the only reason the dog stopped. But I put it up as a spoof because the dog stopped on the new whistle because it was a different tone, and he knew it wasn't Jeff blowing it, it was Fat Boy. And he respects me more than perhaps he respects Jeff, and yet Jeff loves him more than I love him. But I'd have him any day. And other people have said, I'd have that dog any day. He's a lovely dog. But Jeff's not going to let that dog go. Or are you, Jeff? Jeff, do you want to sell the dog? Do you want to sell the dog, Jeff? But I wouldn't blame Jeff if he said yes, and I wouldn't blame Jeff if he said no, but that's Jeff's choice, isn't it? I wouldn't blame Jeff if Jeff says, no, I'll take the money. How much you offer me? Because he could do that sort of Indian market thing, couldn't he, with his turban on his head? Can you say that these days? And we could start to barter, couldn't we? Martin Lawrence, good evening to you. And that's not being racist. That's not being rude. I'm just having a joke. But that's going to upset someone, isn't it? If they're sitting there in a turban. Remember that Derby County player, that Derby County manager, Alan Turban. Oh, no, it's Alan Durban. Sorry. But that's what we used to call him, Alan Turban. But we come from that mixed race society. Anyway, let's talk about freaking religion or fighting, shall we, for Christ's sake? I mean, Jesus Christ, what's happening out in Israel? We'll move on, shall we? Let's just keep going. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. I feel sorry for both sides, don't you? Except the freaking terrorists who they got no freaking soul, have they? They got no soul. Also, religion. Oh, it's not about religion. It's about fanatics, isn't it? Jeff's done a good job, worked hard, and getting results. Hats off. Exactly, Graham. He deserves the credit when credit's due. But as a trainer, I have to say it the way it is. And I'm not going on and on about Jeff. I know Jeff's in here tonight. I'm not going on and on about Jeff. I'm going on about it's good for Jeff to see the difference in the different dogs. We put up another video, didn't we, of a little bitch hunting like a little demon. You saw the birds going past the dog in the pen where he's keeping his birds, and such a beautiful, lovely little soft bitch. Just imagine Jeff had that, and just imagine Jeff had my tuition, and Jeff went, okay, now this dog training is easy. I'm going to get another one. I wonder why Jeff hasn't got another dog yet. I think Jeff doesn't need to get another dog. He needs to get on top of this dog. But by God, the dog's got an engine. The dog's got a heart. The dog's got a character. I love character. I love character. I love naughty people. That's why I like Kieran Evans. Also, every e-collar brand slightly differs. Yes, numbers 15 on a dog trim may be totally different to number 15 on a pet educator for sport dog collars. Exactly. And they make collars for big, powerful dogs and small dogs. So they do the little small one. Is it what's name plus? Isn't it ultra? Is it what's name plus? I've got I think two. I've got two. I used to have another one, but I've got two. The reason that I promote Dogtra is that's the ones I use, and I don't touch wood, don't have any problems with them. They charge up, they work when I ask them to, they're consistent, they're not there, they don't, the levels don't vary from one day to another. If I'm training a very small dog, I may put the smaller collar on. If I'm training a bigger dog, or I want more precision, like a sheep chaser, I'll use my bigger collar. So at the end of the day, I suggest the two collars that I use, because when the customers come here, they use the collar and then they learn the levels for their dog. We condition the dog for the level that they need to teach the behavior first. I want you to listen to me. Don't go any further than that. Now, why didn't we do this with Jordan? Is it Jordan's dog? Why didn't we do this with Jordan's dog? Why didn't we use the e-collar when she was out hunting and started to want to take a straight line on a pheasant? Because we don't need it. We only need those tools for situations that could go seriously wrong. If his dog went down the bottom and started chasing flat out, you've got to get down there, get the dog back, and say to the dog, that's not what I want you to do. You don't beat the dog up. You educate the dog. It's about education. All dogs will go wrong. We need them to go wrong to put them right. If you mollycoddle them, overprotect them, and don't let them leave your side, and these are the videos that I've been watching on the internet, a lot of these dogs are glued to the owner's side, who's showing you how they use an e-collar to control a dog, and the dog isn't leaving their side. I don't want that. With a gun dog, we want that dog to go out in front of us, but not taking too much ground. Exactly, Steve. Jordan is young enough to get out after the dog. Exactly. But I can tell you one thing. There was one incident that Jordan had to get after the dog, and the dog went through a gap in the fence, and I would have struggled to get the dog. But Jordan, like you say, was young enough to get down there and get the dog. But he can't be screaming, come here, and once he eventually gets hold of the dog, then give the dog chastisement. He's got to get down there with his voice showing disapproval, and we want the dog to drop to the ground. As soon as the dog's dropping to the ground, you don't need to take the discipline any further, do you? Because the dog's got the message. I'm dropped to the ground. I'm in trouble. I've gone wrong. Then you educate. There's the difference, isn't it? Because the e-collar training was bad. No, I don't know if it is. I think it's down.
This is why we can't talk levels. Collars are different. Dogs are different.
No. Karen's just said those dogs are scared shitless and go wrong. And I'm not talking about that. I know what you're trying to say, Karen. In some videos, yes. But what I'm saying is, it depends what you want the dog for. You don't want the dog so drilled obedience-wise that it's at your side like a regimental soldier. But at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is taking in too much ground. And what I'm saying is, it's horses for courses. And if I was a police dog trainer and I'd police education as a dog trainer, I might be approaching the subject in a different way. If you are used to barking orders at people, you might think that barking orders at a dog is the right way. And there's some good dog trainers who are police officers, but there's more not good dog trainers that are police officers or ex-police dog trainers, unfortunately. Now, that's not going to make me popular. They're going to go, are you talking about me? No, I'm not talking about anybody individual. Because I've looked at so many different videos. What I'm saying is, I've gone on the internet looking for videos of how people are schooling dogs with e-collars and thinking, let's see if anybody else is doing it, what I would class as good as me or better than me. Not that I'm being a big head. I've actually told you that dog, although it didn't run in with me and was not interested in the sheep because I was conditioning it, not destroying it. I was conditioning the dog to listen. I was also adding to the behavior and explaining to the owner, you need to address more basic issues. That if I say come back, you say it once and the dog comes back. If it doesn't, but like Steve said, once the dog's surrendered to you, you then know it's listening to you and you've changed its mindset at that moment in time. Absolutely the best comment tonight. That's why, Stevie Two Shoes, you're one of our trainers. Did you have a good holiday? That's what we want to know. Honestly, some of you boys, you're always on freaking holiday. Me, not me. I never get a freaking holiday. Hang on. So Karen says, if the dog drops and rolls over, the dog is surrendered. Well, that can be debatable. That could mean you've been too hard on the dog. I don't want it to personally roll over. I've seen dogs roll over and piss themselves with people who've been too hard at the wrong time. I don't want that. I want the dog to surrender. I want the dog to realize that when you change your tone of voice, oh God, I've upset my boss. I've upset the leader. I've upset my master. Can't say master these days, can you? Sue, who's your master? Me or?
I haven't got one. Okay.
Bastard, she hasn't got a master. I thought I was a master. No, I'm an equal. No, I'm not a freaking equal. I'm the master of the house. Sorry, Sue. See what she does? Do you know what? When you're not here, She's on her freaking knees going, "You're the master. You're the boss. I love you." She gives me eye contact like freaking Karen Spaniel gives him. But I don't want to see it dropping and rolling over and pissing itself. Now, he didn't say pissing himself. A dog drops and rolls over. I don't want it rolling over. That's a little concerning to think that bad police dog handlers are on the streets. Is that something that has come with the woke society? No, no, Michael. It's come with that sort of bolshiness. As I'm an authoritative figure, I'm used to giving out commands. You can beat certain dogs into submission on certain things, but why would you? Why would you? And it used to all be dominance and not gameplay. But they've got better because they've got trainers. They're going to trainers now that use gameplay to motivate, but also use discipline at the right time. But if you think just sticking an e-collar on a dog and frying it every time it goes wrong, or you want to stop a behavior, that doesn't create the better dog. That doesn't create the better dog. That's why I think it's so important that we just don't put up only e-collar training for chasing sheep. You can use an e-collar at such a sensitive level, gentle, and it's like it's no different than giving a reward. You can say, listen to that, feel that. Now something positive can happen, and the dog can respond quicker through that way. And we were talking about this the other day about building the stop and making it stronger by adding gameplay to it rather than just discipline. But sometimes good old-fashioned discipline is the right way forward. I went to a protection group on the weekend, saw so many mistakes and so-called top handlers were making. Not saying I'm better or they're wrong. I could just see mistakes that I thought I'd do that differently. Exactly. Exactly. And that's the whole point, isn't it? The more wisdom and the more knowledge you get, the more you start to understand and read things. That's why a lot of the time when we put up a video, I don't give my opinion and I say, okay, everyone, what do you think about this dog? This person wants feedback. They want to know what the group think. And the group in general, I would say, get it right. In general, get it right. There may be one or two people making wrong assumption, but most of the time they get it right. But if I was a dictator and I said, listen, you've got to listen to me, you've got to use word for word what I say and action for action of what I say, you're just cloning yourself into a Chris Upton. Now, I remember going to a trial and my mate who used to train with me came second with a dog that I'd sold him, that I'd trained, but he was running it. The judge didn't know that. And the judge said to him, do you know what? That's a bloody good dog you've got there, but the problem is you're a clone of Chris Upton. And do you know what he said? Well, I'd rather be a clone of Chris Upton and winning on a regular basis than one of these freaking idiots who think they know it all. I thought that was a brilliant comment back to that judge. But it didn't do him any favors because that judge never, ever liked him ever again. And that's the problem with trialing. So that leads me on to my next bit. But one of our members in our group, and I'm not going to say who it is. I don't want anyone to say who it is because I do not want to make this a private, open, public thing in a nasty way. A comment was put up about a trial not having enough entries, and he contacted me, and he's a secretary of a club, and we won't say what club, and we won't say where. So he's the field trial secretary of a club. So some of you might know what I'm talking about, but please don't mention his name. And he said, do you fancy having a chat about trialing? And I says, yeah. So we had a chat about trialing. And the things we were talking about was exactly what was happening when I pulled away from trialing because of the politics of it all. And I could have said to him, well, if you chase a dream, but you know it's bent, you're only feeding the cheats. Because if everybody said, I'm not trialing, well, there's this much cheating going on, blatant cheating. That's what we were talking about. Not a difference of opinion, but blatant cheating. And I've seen it all myself, and I've talked about it openly in the past. And we do not want to mention this guy's name on here because we want the guy to be successful. We want him to enjoy trialing. He's enjoying it in some ways. But when you start seeing the cheating blatantly obvious, it's disheartening. But obviously, I didn't say it to him, but I felt like saying, well, if you keep feeding them more and more lemons to enter the trials who have got no idea about the politics, then you've only got yourselves to blame. Because if no one went to the trials other than the cheats, then the cheats would only be able to cheat with each other, wouldn't they? And they wouldn't have so many trials to run in, and there wouldn't be so many people winning trials, the same people on a regular basis. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who is winning on a regular basis is a cheat, but you'd be amazed how many people are in each other's pockets and helping each other in their own individual areas. And the average person coming up through the ranks with a great dog may get there eventually, but you have to pay the ferryman. I can't hold my mouth at times, most of the times for that matter. If I saw blatant cheating, I'd be the first to open my mouth and I'd never get asked to come again. Exactly, Karen, because we're all different, aren't we? But I kept my mouth shut until I was successful and I was judging. Then I started opening my mouth, and perhaps I opened my mouth too soon because I may have made panel judge if I'd kept my mouth shut because I wasn't willing to play their frigging game. I'd seen so much cheating coming through the ranks. I thought it wasn't fair on the average guy. I was good enough to win. On the odd occasion, you can beat the system because the film star's not there. He's looking after his mate. But trust me, I had so many days that I went back biting the steering wheel all the way home, not because of the dog, not because of my training, because of the politics. I'm telling you, proper end of fisticuffs. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It could easily turn into that, couldn't it? And especially you then say something in public at the trial, then you're breaching the code of conduct. You're bringing the game into disrepute. So you've got to bite your lip, you've got to go home, and you've got to make an official complaint. You put an official complaint, it goes round the table with the committee. Welcome to the committee. And the committee say, no, he wouldn't do that. He's a lovely chap because he's on the committee himself. So guess what? That letter gets thrown out, laughed at, or doesn't even get presented in front of the committee. That's how corrupt it is. But unfortunately, as soon as I say that, the powers to be and all the film stars who do cheat go, Upton's kicking off again, talking about trialing. He hasn't trialed for 10 years and he's kicking off that trialing's bent. How do you know trialing's not bent? Because I speak to so many people. I got so many friends who still trial. I've got clients who trial. We've got people in the group that trial. We've got some people in the group that trial that think trialing is wonderful at the moment and everybody's their friend. I say crack on, get on with it, move on, Chris. Just do what you do. It takes a mockery of the best dog on the day. It takes a mockery. The best dog on the day should win. Now, some luck with. Now that's some luck with so many dogs. Yeah, exactly. I used to want to be a trial winning film star. Now I just want dogs that are well trained and capable of job when I need them. Yeah, I totally understand. But also for courses, I don't rubbish anybody who's having a go. I say, well done, have a go. But once you start seeing what it's really like out there, you're only feeding the cheats by still sending in your entry and paying your money. You're just helping them get where they want to go. Now, I'm not saying that you won't get there or you won't be in the awards on the odd occasion, but to win on a regular basis, you've either got to be very good, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be, or you're in people's pocket, right? Now, some of those trainers are good trainers, but they're also in people's pocket. You don't stand a chance. The average person don't stand a chance. You'll be running up and down the country, spending £100 a day, moaning like fuck after a few months. I keep getting a certificate of merit. I thought my dog went really well. I don't know what went wrong. Other dogs got brought forward for the retrieve and had to move them forward. Other dogs went straight out, straight back, and they weren't in the awards. Well, you're going to ask the question why. But guess what? When you ask the question why, you're a troublemaker. Simple as that. So that was the other subject I wanted to cover, but I didn't want to mention any names. But the guy I'm speaking to is in our group. He's tried his best to do well out there. He's actually taken on a job that's very, very demanding, very hard, and we don't want him to get no shit. We don't want him to get put into a situation where people are going, oh, friggin' hell, see, you're friggin' stirring shit. He's not stirring shit. It was a conversation between him and me, and he was giving me insight and exactly what he was saying. I've been there, seen it, and read the book. How about that, everyone? Any comments? Any comments, Susan?
No, not really.
Okay. So anybody got any questions tonight? We've done 45 minutes, and I went to an open trial last week. I thought it was very fair. There's definitely a look of the draw, though. Yeah, without trail pull, without fail pull, I agree. There is luck, and there is trials out there that are run fairly. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rubbishing trialing and saying no one should be trialing. What I'm saying is I like a fair playing field for everybody, and I've seen the corruption. And when people talk to me about it, I don't think you're just a troublemaker. You're looking to cause a shitstorm. There was no shitstorm being trying to cause. It was just a conversation between two people that he was giving me the information of being bang in there. And it's not as if like he's just a young person trialing for the first time and he's not helping the system. He's out there actually helping people. And the one thing I say is there's field trial secretaries that do the job because it suits them. It gets them runs in other trials if they're running their dogs. It gets them friendships in different circles because they're controlling a bit of power, who decides to get a run and who doesn't get a run. I'm not saying all runs are corrupt and some people get a run no matter where they send in their membership to, with what club they'll always get a run because they're a film star. I'm not saying that happens on every field trial secretary, but an honest field trial secretary, I take my hat off to him because I know exactly, because I've been in the sport and I've had positions in as secretaries, and I know how much work and effort that you put in and your partner puts in to make that day work for everybody to have a wonderful time. So I'm not rubbishing all field trial secretaries. I'm saying I know field trial secretaries would phone me on a regular basis and say, well, I've not had your entry. I said, well, you must have had my entry because I sent it by registered post. And then they phone you up 3 days later and said, I'm so sorry. I found it at the back of underneath the sofa. It must have fallen out off the sofa when I was doing the draw. Oh, I am so friggin' unlucky, and I am so unlucky. But I'm not saying, Paul, I'm not saying that all trialing is bent. Not at all. There is some wonderful, wonderful people out there. They should put their names in an app for a draw. Seen it all. I've actually sat there with the field trial secretary, rolling up the paper, putting it in the act, and then some of that paper doesn't go in the act, but they start off like it looks like everybody's going in the act, and then when they pull it out, they don't line them all back up again and say those people there, look, they're not in the draw. What happens is they put up the people who made the trial, and then they put up reserve. They don't pull everybody out the act. Technically, if it's done in the open in front of everyone, then it can stop that, can't it? But if it's done in your own front room with your missus, who's the field trial secretary, and you're the judge, then things can happen. And I'm talking about that situation I've actually been in, where I've been in the house with the field trial secretary who's doing the draw, and her husband is the judge, but who lives with her. And that judge was bent. But how did I know the judge was bent until I went a little bit further down into the trialing circle and realized this guy is corrupt? And why do I know he was corrupt? Because all of a sudden, he started doing little things and testing me and seeing if I'd say anything. And I'm thinking, that's not right. So on the way home in the car, we were friends. On the way home in the car, he said, what do you think then? That's what he'd ask. And I'd say, why did you let that dog go through that made a noise? What noise? The dog that made a noise under you, that won the trial. Yeah, but did you see it hunt? Well, it don't matter what it hunted like. Yes, I agree. It was a fantastic hunting dog. The best dog by far on the day for hunting. What noise are you on about? The noise it made when he cast it off. I never heard a noise. Well, I was standing the other side and I heard it make a noise, and so did half the gallery. There you go. How about that? I went along to help in the trial just to see what's involved, to see if it's for me and the dog. Still not sure. Hey, I don't let me put you off, Paul. I thought for a second you were saying you love the trials. I didn't realise you were a novice. I don't want to put you off, Paul. You've got to go in there to see what it's like. Now, the thing is, I could have fallen out with that A-panel judge, couldn't I? Now, I know the dog made a noise, but guess what? The dog made a noise on the next trial he ran in and got put out. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? One judge turned a blind eye to it because it was the best hunting dog, and it won a competition. And then it got put in another trial. After that, the dog never ran again. So, guess what? Did people breed off it? Yes, they did, because I see the pedigrees with that dog, and people do not know that dog made a noise unless you had a record of saying that dog's run 30, 40 trials. It's won 5 times open, but it's been put out 6 times for making noise. Now ask the question, everybody in here, would you breed off the dog if there was a list and it said it made a noise on a number of occasions at trials? Tell me, would you want a pup out of it or would you not? Isn't that funny? We got no's. Now let's ask the question. If it's made up to a field trial champion, would you use it because it's proved itself because it says field trial champion? Now, this is another one, Karen. This is the other side of the scale, everybody. So I look at both sides. So you've got a great dog, it's never made a noise, and it's never damaged a bird, and you enter it in a trial, and some bent judge who lives in your area, who doesn't want your dog, and he knows you've got a good dog, he's been told by everybody on the scene, oh, that person's got a bloody good dog, he's got a cracking dog, that guy. You've all said no to noise, and someone said or hard mouth, right? And now your dog gets put out for hard mouth from that bent judge. He's just condemned your dog forever if everybody took notice of a judge. But if the judge had to be there, his name had to be there, and the reason the dog was put out for an eliminating fault, I'm not talking about moving's just training, isn't it? But I'm talking about a hard mouth or noise, and it was the same judge putting out these same people, wouldn't that tell you something? Do you think the judges would be so keen to put a dog out for hard mouth? Now, I know a judge, an A-panel judge. He's not judging now. He would say, I'll never put a dog out for hard mouth. Well, if you have got a dog with hard mouth, you might as well run under him, haven't you? If he's telling people that in public. If he's telling people, I don't believe that hard mouth is a real problem, and I'll never put a dog out for hard mouth because a load of other situations can cause hard mouth. Of course he can. Bad training can cause hard mouth. Damaging a bird that hits the ground or hits a tree on the way down can cause hard mouth. Shooting it too close, hitting it with different shot early in the season. There's so many things you've got to. But if you're going to condemn a guy for making a noise with his dog makes a noise, and you're being honest, I agree that if there's a record and the dog's run 3 or 4 times it's made noise from under different judges, what does that tell you? It's got noise, isn't it? It's got noise, but it would give you a reference, wouldn't it? And yet you'll race out and use a field trial champion because everyone's using it. That's only ran once under a certain 2 judges. Made I'm talking about an open stake twice, and then made it up to champion. You don't really know the true story behind it, do you? I'll tell you where I'd rather buy a dog. I'd rather buy a dog off Kieran Evans, who went to the championship and qualified his dog to the championship. He knows nobody at the championship. He's done it on merit. He's won a number of awards under different judges and made his dog up to champion. I'd rather use Kieran Evans' dog. Why? Because he got there on merit. He didn't get there because he's a film star. How about that, everyone? Freaking Chris is on a roll tonight, isn't he, Sue?
Michael McLaughlin says, question, are the rules of trialing black and white or open to judges' interpretation?
Yeah. Judge's discretion, we call it. That's out of jail card. The judge's discretion. You're not supposed to question what the judge says on the day. You're supposed to accept what the judge says on the day. I was at a test once, and my mate sent his dog onto the pond, and he had to jump off the bank, And as the dog hit the water, it was cold, and the dog went, huh! And judge said, put your dog out. It made a noise. He went, what? He said it made a noise. He said, no, he made a noise. He hit the water. He said, no, he made a noise. Put your dog on the lead. So he put his dog on the lead and walked out. I put my bitch in. She'd never made a noise in her life. Never made a noise in her life. And she went off the bank. She hit the water. She went, huh! And he went, put your dog on the lead. Fucking you don't know what you're freaking talking about. Turned around and walked away. And I tell you, it was just the breath of air as the dog hit the water. It was like freezing cold. And they jumped off a bank. And it was only the breath of air as the dog hit the water. It wasn't like, or all the way out to the retrieve. Hey, you just got to accept it, don't you? Some judges know what they're talking about, and some judges don't have a frigging clue. But you've got to be sure if you're going to put a dog out for noise, or you should, and you should be definitely sure if you're going to put a dog out for hard mouth. It's as simple as that. And that's why, until you've got that knowledge and that understanding, it's easy to make judgment. It's easy to say these things. Perhaps they should be put an N against the KC pedigree when the dogs made a noise. Then they would help the breeding. Yeah, but like I was saying, Steve, yeah, I understand that. But what happens when the bent judge says the dog made a noise, mate? Sorry, I heard it. And it didn't. You just put an N against it. You just fucked up the breeding if you're not careful. I think there should be a record of the dogs. That's why consistency matters to me. That's why one of the first dogs I used for my breeding lines was Badger Court Moss, because Badger Court Moss was very, very consistent. Not everybody's cup of tea, a bulldozer, but a beautiful, beautiful hard hunting dog that went on and was still running in trials at 10. Guess what that tells me? That's a good dog. Dogs that run, win one, win a novice, win 2 opens, and then they retire them. There's a reason they do that, and I'll explain that to you if you want, because that dog's now a valuable dog. And if you did run it in competition, and just imagine you run it under a couple of bent judges and they said that dog got put out for noise, it would go around the trial circuit and nobody would want to use it for breeding, because that's another thing they will do. They will spread rumors about your dog. So if your dog won a novice and then won 2 opens and made up to a champion, would you be better off retiring it and making money out of it? If it's a sound dog, now Badger Court Moss belonged to a panel judge, and the family were all known for being gun dog people. You're not going to get nobbled in the same way as Joe Blogs from round the corner, are you? As simple as that.
I think Karen got the best one.
Or brown nose field.
BNFTW, brown nose field trial winner.
Yeah, and there's plenty
that definitely should be on the pedigree.
Yeah, you could. That would look really good on the pedigree, wouldn't it? Yeah, brown nose field trial winner. I think that's really good, Karen. Well done. That would be good, wouldn't it? I could name them people for you now if you want. No, shut up, Upton. Go away. You've pulled away from the sport.
What Gary said, I know an panel judge who admitted to me that his field trial champion should never have been made up, but was a return favour. That's not for me.
Who said that?
Gary.
Gary who?
Marriott.
Bloody hell, Gary Marriott. Why do you want to delete that before somebody reads it? You'll never get anywhere in the trial world if you say things like that, Gary. I'm not worried about that. No, you're dead right, Gary. And I appreciate you saying it. And I've known it and seen it. I've known a panel judge in a pub when he's pissed to say, I was given the win at the trial because I helped the club out. And I thought, you've hit the nail on the freaking head there, because you couldn't train a dog to save your freaking life. And I've known you 25 years. That's the only reason that you're judging, because you got a win with a dog under 2 bent panel judges, because they were giving you payback for all the help that you did for the club. Now, I appreciate anybody who puts all that time and helps the club. But why are you helping the club? Are you helping the club because you want a brown nose and you want to climb the ladder of the greasy ladder of success? Or do you want to climb the ladder, hold your head up high and say, I won on merit. I won because I deserved it. There's me. Too honest, too open. It's not for me, is it?
And Paul Matt says, how does a dog become a champion?
How does a dog become a champion? First, you don't actually have to win a novice trial. You can just win 2 opens in this country, and you can make it up to a champion that way. But the majority of people would run a dog in novice trials, not tests, in trials. You don't make a champion up for tests. You can win tests, but you don't make a dog up to a champion. You've got to do it on live game. But you can do it on rabbits, or you can do it on pheasants. In Ireland, it's different. You can do it on a point system. But over here, technically, you should win 2 open stakes, and then you've got to prove your dog can swim across the water and just retrieve a bird. And then that will make it up to a champion. Dogs like Clarbrat, once Ian got hold of Clarbrat, it was made up to a champion in 2 runs. Simple as that. Now, Ian didn't train Clarbrat from the start. My mate Colin Pass, good mate of mine, trained that dog. He got I think 2 seconds with that dog, and was told if you run that dog under so you'll win, but you're not going to do it under those judges. Then what's the point in doing it? And that's why Colin sold the dog. That's all I can say at this point in public. And then Ian went and won with the dog. Like, Ian wins on a regular basis. You've seen him. The amount of work that bloke puts in is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. He's a workhorse. I don't know how he does it. He's not a youngster anymore, is he? I don't know how he does it. Well, I do actually, but I'm not saying nothing. At the end of the day, I'm open for advice from anybody. But if I ask for advice, then that's one thing. But to give an advice, like I said to you, about Ian saying to me, I don't know why you train on pheasants. I thought to myself, you live in a different world than I live in. If you live on a council estate and your daddy doesn't own a big freaking farm, and he's got his own shoot and his own tractors and his own friends and his own acquaintances who all help each other, who all muck in, it's a family, innit? And so is the trial world no different? Yeah, the film stars are very friendly with each other, some of them, but there's circles. There's circles that some film stars would never get in because they are rubbished about other trial people. So that person doesn't do that person any favors. They're not going to do them any favors. So they're not going to get preference. You do him favors, he's going to do you favors. That's the way of life, isn't it? That's the way of life. I'm not saying it's only the trial world, but I wanted to have a fair playing field for everybody. When I was running and judging, I would treat everybody equally. As simple as that. The easy way to champion your dog, you have to have a big wallet or massive tits. Stop it, Karen. Or suck a golf ball through a nose pipe. Oh my God, it's getting worse, this, isn't it? Honestly, they'll all be coming back at me going, look what he's bloody producing. Negative people. Gary Marriott, stop laughing. Gary Marriott sent me a message. I'm not going to tell you what message it was. It was between me and Gary Marriott, but I sent him a picture back with a woman with massive, massive breasts floating in a swimming pool or in a bath. He never came back to me. I said, you're getting carried away now with what he said, because I was getting emotional of what he was saying to me. Wisdom from Wigan. Yeah, Graham, eh? Hey, imagine they were all like him at a trial.
It'd be funny.
It'd be funny, Sue said. Hey, Lee! Karen had turned up on a motorbike pulling wheelies.
Just enjoying the picture.
Just enjoying the picture, he said. He never come back. I think I sent him into shock. I said, don't be a big softie. Stop it. Those jokes again, innit? You're being sexist, Chris. No, I'm not. I'm not. I appreciate women. I didn't actually appreciate the bird in the bath. They were falsies, weren't they? But Jesus Christ, she's not going to float. She's not going to sink. Float. She was floating. She couldn't freaking... I don't think she could wash her hair if she freaking laid on her back. She just bobbled up to the surface again.
Michael says, what are the classes of dogs in trialing from top down, i.e. I assume British Open Championship is top dog?
Well, to win the championship, the yearly championship, it's a prestigious thing, isn't it? You're running against open dogs that have all won, and they're all running in the championship. The dogs that have won, that's it. Once you win an open stake, you can technically run in the championship. You don't need to be a champion to run in the championship. You can have one leg up. We call it one leg up. If you get 2 wins, then that's a champ. Make yourself to a champion. But you could run your dog in non-qualifying championship and stuff like that. There and there's all age and all that sort of stuff. You've got to actually win 2 qualifying championships. I'm talking about spaniels here, not talking about Labradors. Labradors is different. So I forgot to mention that spaniels is different to Labradors. Some people are on walked up country, and I prefer walked up for Labradors. Where driven days, it's not run like a proper day. It's run like a day's shooting rather than a day's trialing, but it's not even run like a day's shooting because during the drive, half the birds that are runners ain't picked, and that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. A good dog should prove itself with picking some runners, but how can you give everybody an equal chance if some dogs pick runners and other dogs don't? Are not given a chance to pick runners, so they try and keep it more even. But I don't think it's more like a proper day's shooting, where a trial should be on the same grounds as close to a day's rough shooting as possible. When I say rough shooting, walked up shooting with a spaniel. So you would carry the gun normally, wouldn't you? Wouldn't it be wonderful if trials were run where you carried the gun, you shot over your dog? Because guess what? How many trials have I been in where I've pissed somebody off and the bird's got up and they've not even shot it for me? They've not even shot the bird for me. Now you turn around and say, why didn't you shoot the bird? Because there was a tree in the way. I couldn't get a clear shot off. I didn't think it was safe. It didn't get up high enough. You think, you lying bastard. But wouldn't it be wonderful if you carried your own gun, hunted your own dog, and as long as your dog produced the birds, whether it was hunting close or hunting far out, as long as you didn't walk past birds and put birds up and covering the ground well, you could prove to the judge that you can read your dog, you can shoot well, and you can work the dog. Wouldn't that make it freaking better, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that make it more honest? And then ask the question here. This is controversial. You get a load of people listening to this shit, and they're all going, Upton's kicking off again. Wouldn't it be wonderful if every trial was videotaped? Every dog was videotaped. So if someone had a problem, they could do what they do on the football now. Go back and analyse it and go, why did you win that trial and you got took forward 3 times by the judge and yet you won the trial on ice and that person whose dog went straight out, straight back, hunted tight, flushed the birds, proved itself as a good dog, got a certificate of merit. Got a certificate of merit. I'll tell you what, I've come home with a certificate of merit and I felt like ripping it up in front of the judge and throwing it at him like I said spaghetti, confetti. I felt like ripping it up and going, you cheating bastards, and throwing it at them in his face at the awards. And I could quite happily do it. But guess what? Then they would say, you're not a sportsman. You're a bad loser. But I know one very, very famous dog trainer that did exactly that. Put it in the bin, kicked the bin over, got in his car and walked home. Nothing happened. If anybody else had done that, they would have been reported to the Kennel Club for ungentlemanly conduct. How about that? You don't see all this, do you? I've been there, seen it, read the book. Told you about the one where I went all the way up to Wales. I won't say where it was. I won't say who it was. And the gun was on one of them flip-up phones. Remember those little flip-up phones we used to have? And he's talking to a client or somebody for a dog sale, and he's carrying the gun. And a bird gets up. He goes to lift it. And because he can't lift his head to get the shot off, he doesn't take the shot. And the judge said to me, that would have done you. I said, yeah, I'd have enjoyed him shooting that if he weren't on the phone. Do you know what? The judge didn't say, excuse me, could you get off the phone? Why? Because he's a film star. You can't tell film stars what to do, else you're going to not be liked. Simple as that. Am I feeding bullshit? Am I lying? No, I'm telling the truth. I'm being open and honest. But open and honest don't get you nowhere in life, does it? Gets you nowhere in life. But guess what? I enjoy life far better helping people with their little dogs, enjoying life, getting their dogs to a good standard, improving themselves so they can go out there and help other people and give them a smile on their face. Isn't that what it's about, everybody, in reality, in this group? Majority of people in this group love the dogs that we train, love taking them out, You can't beat rough shooting over your dog. Finest thing you can do. Now, some people have never done it. Some people don't own a gun. Some people can't train a dog to that standard. The ones who do, the ones who get out there and actually have that fun of a day out that's not expensive, that is enjoyable. How are we? That is going back to basics, isn't it? Man and dog, hunter and dog working as one. Honestly, I'm so primitive. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, on that note, what? I've gone freaking 10 minutes over the hour. She's laughing in the background. You've had extra tonight, I'm telling you. I'd better get looked after tonight, hadn't I? Hey. She'll be looking at the clock in a minute going, you've had an hour. Better than a £50 bird. Exactly, boy. Exactly. Hey, horses for courses. Some of them guys have got the money. Some of them love it. Some of them enjoy what they do, and each to their own. But hey, to me, it's better than £50 a bird. I'd be frigging sick if I went home after shooting 20 birds. Can someone work that out? What 20 birds at £50 is? Jesus Christ. I wish I had that sort of money from you lot. No, I'm content with what I've got. I'm a happy chappy. Good night, all. Chris Upton, definitely better than the driven the shooting. Exactly, that's what we said. 400, says Kieran. That's nothing, is it, for some of you guys, is it? Good night, all. Chris Upton signing off, and Susie Two Shoes in the background. Have a good evening, and don't lose sleep over this freaking arguing in Israel and everything. Let's just hope they get down on their knees and pray for guidance. Yeah, right. And if that works, my name's Dick Turpin.